You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns. Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on a journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Jen, a former lawyer, yoga instructor, and human design reader.
And I'm Mick, a marketer, Reiki master, and prepper.
We all may be looking for the keys to the universe and its mysteries, but the CIA already has a workbook on it. Today, we're diving into part 2 of the CIA and its investigation and exploration of the metaphysical.
But before we get into that, we want to remind you that you can book a human design reading or tarot card pull with Jen on our website. And for the next 2 weeks, you can get 15% off using code CHAKRA15. All right, let's begin as we always do with a little bit of breathwork meditation to get us into a mindful place.
All right, find a comfortable seat, even better if you can lie down, and let's begin. Inhale deeply through your nose, expanding your belly. Hold at the top. And exhale that breath out your mouth. Again, inhale in through your nose. And on your exhale, stick out your tongue, lion's breath, and exhale that breath out through your mouth. Once more together, inhale through your nose. And this time, seal the lips and exhale that breath back out through your nose. Now that you're more aware of your breath, allow yourself to breathe naturally. Try to match the length of your inhales to the length of your exhales. And allow yourself to come to your body and ground in the space. Starting at the tips of your toes, scan your body, noticing where you're holding, where you're tense, where you're sore, where you may feel pain. And scan all the way up to the crown of your head. If there's any tension that you're feeling, try to release that and relax and sink a little bit deeper into this time together. Now that you're feeling a little bit more relaxed, we're going to focus inward. And allow the sensations of your physical body to fall away. As you focus on the consciousness that is you. You may still feel sensations, waves of energy or tingling in your third eye or your crown chakra. And note that that's not your physical body, but your spiritual body, your light body, your emotional body. And as those sensations may come up, just observe them. If you'd like to stay in this space, you're more than welcome to pause the episode and keep exploring. But we're going to close out with an affirmation. You can repeat it out loud or internally to yourself. I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. Take another deep inhale through your nose, filling your body completely full of air. And as you exhale that breath back through your nose, maybe wiggle your toes, your fingers. Maybe allow yourself to give a full body stretch. As you come back to your physical body, and re-enter the room. All right.
Love it. Love where you were going with that, Jen.
Thank you.
Let's get into the main topic. If you haven't listened to episode 84, you might want to pause and go back. That was a fun episode, diving into the CIA and their obsession with mind control and interrogation tactics using, mind-altering substances like LSD. That episode definitely had a lot of trigger warnings. But in this episode, we get into more of the fun stuff. Things that we're typically all about. Manifestation, sound frequencies, astral projection, expanded consciousness.
Yeah, so let's set the stage. It's the early 1970s, which I guess is the tail end of Project MK Ultra, which we talked about in the last episode. But we've also heard through the grapevine that Russia, or the Soviet Union, back then, is what his mama called them, was looking into psychokinesis. It's moving things with your brain. I don't know why they don't call it telekinesis anymore, but that's none of my business. But also ESP, which is extrasensory perception. I guess it's like that sixth sense, right? So then we're like, oh, we definitely got to jump on that, right? The interest in psychics definitely started picking up, especially when we heard somebody else was looking into it. And I'm sure there was a little bit of interest there already, but the implications, just think about that. Using psychics for spying, for intelligence gathering, national security, it's huge. If I can know what my enemy is going to do next without even getting out of bed, or even better, without leaving the safety of my own country, like I'm way ahead of the game.
I just hope the psychics that they're using are better than the one we just saw on Below Deck. Because, child, I know that's an aside, but we just watched Below Deck, which is one of our new favorite shows.
It's an old season, though. We started from the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know, like season 3 or something. They had this psychic on there. She was making all kind of mistakes. She told the captain that his mama was dead, but his mama was really alive. It was a mess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know this episode is all about the CIA, and we'll get more into that. But when the U.S. Army heard what Russia was up to, they decided to launch their own project. Now, see, somebody wasn't talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all on the same side. Y'all spending resources in 2 different directions.
There was no email. There was no cell phones.
So anyway, they have this project they call Project Stargate, which I still need to watch Stargate. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. The focus of Project Stargate was on something called remote viewing. It's basically psychic FaceTime or clairvoyance clear sight. The research started in 1972 at the Stanford Research Institute. Shout out to the alma mater. And they started testing psychics to see what they were capable of. This project eventually was rolled into the CIA in the 90s. But during this time, the goal was to apply the scientific method to psychic abilities. They were assigned tasks like finding Soviet crash sites, and sometimes they even saw far into the past and into the future. This project was basically the source material for that movie that came out a few years ago. It's called The Men Who Stare at Goats, starring George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
We're supposed to watch that too. We did a lot of research. We just didn't watch this movie, and we still haven't watched Stargate.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I watched Stargate when I was a wee tot. One of the really cool things that they have a transcript on of the remote viewing was one remote viewer went back. They asked him to go back like to 1,000,000 BC and look at Mars. And he saw an ancient civilization of aliens living on Mars, but they had ran out of resources. And they knew that like their civilization was dying. But they were apparently very philosophical about it. And it was like, this is the end.
Wow.
Yeah. So some very interesting stuff. But I'm getting off topic. Around the same time as the U.S. Army is tinkering around with remote viewing, Robert A. Monroe is a civilian radio broadcaster, and he had been experimenting for a while. Like at this point, about 20 years. He had been experimenting with sound frequencies and their effect on the human body. And he's seeing that sound can change how alert you are, how calm you are, and even expand your consciousness. And we know that, right? Because we had Brendan Henderson on the show a while back.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts researching this further because he was obsessed with learning while you sleep. And he wanted to see if sound and the frequencies of sound could help you retain information that like you had learned earlier that day.
Dang, that would have really been helpful. I'm thinking about some organic chemistry classes, some stochastic modeling that, in college, if I had the sound waves working for me, it would have, helped me out.
Right?
But anyway, while Robert was looking into this sleep learning, he notices these altered states of consciousness, feelings of paralysis and vibrations and bright lights. Over the next 6 weeks, he then experiences this 9 times and ends up having an out-of-body experience. By 1971, he publishes the book Journeys Out of the Body, and by 1975, he has patents for something he calls hemisync, where through focus, you get your left and right brain hemispheres to sync up, promoting better well-being and altered states of consciousness.
I don't know why the cha-cha slide just popped in my head. It was like, left foot, one side, right foot.
My texting came out because I saw Hemi and I was thinking about Dodge trucks.
Wow. Okay. And you said Hemi too.
Hemi.
Yeah, Hemi. Yeah, because I have heard hemisync.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Hemi?
Hemi. I don't know.
I'm watching the British on TV, I guess.
Yeah. We'll have to do a deeper dive on Hemi. I'm going to say Hemi.
Okay.
We'll have to do a deeper dive on hemisync on another episode because, look, y'all, I said I was a former lawyer. I am not a practicing physician, a biologist, but there is a lot of science behind it and how the hemispheres of our brains work that I don't really think we have time for in this episode. I don't want to give you the too long didn't read, but there are components of hypnosis, transcendental meditation, biofeedback, and like hypnosis shuts down one part of your brain, transcendental meditation bypasses it, and biofeedback gets one part of your brain to tell the other part of the brain what to do, which is all very interesting because when you work your brain like that, you can get your brain to do things like block pain, enhance sensation, and even shrink tumors. So really, really big stuff that I want to give it the time to breathe. But anyways, back to Robert Monroe. At this point, he puts together a program called the Gateway Experience that teaches you how to reach these altered states. The Gateway Experience sounds like a ride at Epcot. I don't know why.
I feel that.
Epcot specifically.
Absolutely. And was it Tomorrowland?
Yes. If you know, you know.
So here enters the CIA. In 1983, a CIA agent named Wayne gets trained in the Gateway Experience and writes a memo about it. His goal was to use science to explain his practical applications to his superiors. He gets multiple scientists to help him write this 29-page memo all about it. So to sum up the memo, using special audio, some of which includes what we now know as binaural beats, followed by a meditation, you reach a resonance that matches the electromagnetic field of the earth. And then all kinds of wild shit can happen. How does that even make sense?
Yeah, so that summary was a lot, but like, let's break it down. If we go back to what we know, like what we learned from probably 11th grade physics, all matter is made of energy. That's a universal truth, accepted fact. Then, if you remember, and if you're loyal, and you listen to the episode with Brendan Henderson, that was episode 76, everything exists as a sound wave. And all matter has a vibration. So the chairs that Mick and I are sitting in, the cars that we drive, each other, we're just energy moving rapidly enough for the human eye to perceive it as solid. I'm going to give that some room to breathe. We're all just energy moving so fast that it looks solid, like the walls, the dresser, the floor, like everything. So when you think about it, nothing is truly solid, especially when you think about what does energy look like to you? It's like light, right? So then nothing's truly solid. It's just moving real fast. And then you extrapolate that means that our 3D reality, what we're sitting in, what we look at, what we see on TV, where we go to the park, whatever, it's all just a hologram. And the entire universe is part of that hologram as well. The entire universe, not the Milky Way galaxy, not, Mars, Mercury, Venus. Am I saying them in the right order?
Mercury's first.
Mercury's first, then Venus, then Earth, then Mars. Come on, third right from the sun. Act like you've been somewhere before. But like all the way through Pluto, who, sometimes she a planet, sometimes she not. That's just the Milky Way galaxy, right? Or part of it. I'm talking about the entire universe, all the galaxies that we can't even perceive, that we definitely haven't traveled to yet, that we can't even think about traveling to yet. Physically, as humans. That's all a part of the hologram too. And when you're talking about like what you can perceive and what you can't perceive and what's there and what's not there, then you're really starting to get into the world of quantum physics, of which I don't think Mick or I have the license to explain. But basically, the conclusion is that using sound, we can transcend the hologram. So we can get out of the hologram that we're living in and perceive it like almost like we're above it. And when you do that, you're transcending time and space. And that's when you get to see past, present, and future. And when we say present, it's like, well, yeah, I'm in the present, but are you seeing the present in Boise? I don't know why I said Boise. Are you seeing the present in the south of France? That's where I want to be presently.
So, Interstellar, a movie that I think confuses a lot of people. Some of my favorites. It literally touches on this. And if you watch it with this in mind, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, just a quick plug for Interstellar, dope movie.
Yeah. Oh, and then I saw this TikTok where I feel like when you start to get into some of this stuff, and it can be tricky because some of it is like fringe, right on the edge of conspiracy kind of stuff. And people will be saying things like time is not real And you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I definitely got to make my bus. I definitely got to get to this appointment on time. Like,
the rent is due on the 1st.
The rent is due on the 1st. And I can tell my landlord time is not real. And he going to be like, run me my coin. So what do you mean? But time isn't real because all of this is a hologram and all of this is made up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Are you still with us? Well, we've seen elements of this in a lot of meditation and visualization work that we've done. And the Monroe Institute uses some of these techniques in the Gateway experience as well. They also use resonant humming and affirmations. Now, we've seen, Jen and I have been to yoga classes where we do the resonant humming. So it's definitely something that's a key part of a lot of different practices. Jen actually read part of one of the Gateway experiences affirmations as a part of the breath work at the top of this episode. Some other things that the Gateway experience uses include energy work like color breathing, which includes breathing in colors as you visualize them to revitalize parts of the body. And the energy bar tool, which involves visualizing a pulsing dot that you can charge up and then turn into a cylinder to heal the body.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because while reading the science of it all, I was like, whoa, this is huge. But then reading the practice of it, it didn't sound too far off from a lot of things that we looked into. And in fact, there are a lot of, I'm really about to use a corporate word, there are a lot of synergies that they've seen with other religious practices and New Age spirituality as well. So it's like packaged in a different way, or maybe like there's more of science behind it, but then you're getting into a lot of the energy and spiritual practices of a lot of people. The Gateway experience also touches on astral projection, which we have not talked about really at all on the podcast, but it's basically using your consciousness to travel. And at the beginning of the spiritual journey, we actually experimented with astral projection a lot. I even went to my favorite bar in Paris once. That sounds very bourgeoisie, but but I meditated like before bed, and I was like, I want to go to Le Syndicat. If you're ever in Paris, that's the spot. Okay. So I was like, I want to go to Le Syndicat. I want to go to Le Syndicat. And I was in that theta dream space where you're like drifting off to sleep, but you're still kind of conscious. And I was there, and it was daytime, I think, like early morning, which I think tracked for the time zone, but it was under construction. And the next morning I was like, Meg, I think I went there. And I looked, I was like, but it was under construction. And I looked it up and it was closed. It was, I guess, having a little work done, a little facelift. I have to see the next time I get to go. But yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about, and let me know if you saw it in any of the literature you read, is there a difference between astral projection and remote viewing? Because the story that you tell, I'm just trying to understand if you were remote viewing or if you were astral projecting.
I think it's branding.
Okay.
I think it's Mr. Pibb and Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
I think that this is just purely my, like when you read about it, it's like, hey, I'm sitting here using meditation to view somewhere else in the past, present, or future. That's astral projection. That's the same definition to me.
Okay.
I think astral projection sound a little bit too woo-woo, and they wanted to throw the divine masculine on it. They didn't know that, but they wanted to make it sound more like military defense. And it was like, we're going to call this remote viewing. And so it's like, we're looking at you, even though it's through energetic and spiritual means.
Got it.
That's how I felt about it.
Okay.
We're going to have to put astral projection on the list because I think there's definitely like a lot of really good information on there. If you want to experiment with it, do it with caution. Read up about it. Reddit has great threads on it. I'm sure there's plenty of resources on TikTok. But you're never truly, well, what do I want to say? Basically, if you're playing around with this around sleep time, like be careful because you could end up not really getting a lot of rest if you're traveling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to allow your physical body to actually rest, your physical and your mental to like actually go to sleep. So, you know, you wouldn't go run a marathon like in the middle of the night and then get up and go to work the next day. So it's the same thing. One other cool thing, maybe, depends on how you think about it. Astral projection can also include traveling into other dimensions or timelines. Remember, there are infinite timelines, which that also can be very tricky if you're meditating or you're playing around with astral projection and you see something that you think is about to happen and then it doesn't quite happen that way, or it happens a little different, or it doesn't happen at all. It might happen in a different timeline. And so that can be really, really tricky to kind of parse through in this type of work.
Yeah, that's something that CIA agent Wayne pointed to in his report on the Gateway experience. Fun fact, I did have the opportunity to meet some CIA agents, and they would not give me their last name. They were simply Steve, and I think Gina was the chick's name.
Okay.
They were trying to recruit MBA students at the time. You know, they didn't give us business cards or anything. It was like very clandestine. So anyways, the CIA actually ended up declassifying the Gateway Process memo in 2003. And then 12 million pages of records of information about Project Stargate and more came out in 2017. Included in that is the Gateway Process workbook, which is a very interesting read that includes the Gateway affirmations and instructions for blocking pain and some of the energy work. We will link those in the show notes.
Yeah. And if you're really interested in the Gateway experience, you can do trainings with the Monroe Institute. Like, it's a nonprofit. It's still legit open for business, or I guess not open for business, it's a nonprofit, but they're still operating. And I think like for $1,000, like you can do like an 8-week course with them. And then they have tapes and all of that jazz. So like if you want to do the training that the CIA agent Wayne actually did, you can still do that. Finally, there's also a little bit of mystery in the final pages of the memo. At the end of page 25, Wayne says, "And the eternal thought or concept of self, which results from this self-consciousness, serves the," and then it just stops. And page 26 is completely missing. And people have been freaking out because they felt like that sentence was like gearing up to hand over the secrets of the universe and like the secrets of life and the secret, like, where do we go? And if matter is never destroyed, like, where do we go when we die? Where does our consciousness now go, et cetera, et cetera. And the CIA was like, look, we do not have page 26. We ain't never had page 26. Don't ask me no more for page 26. It's not here. Some people have thought that it was a gag, like maybe there wasn't ever a page 26 and they were misnumbered. And then there's also a theory that basically it's like, well, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you need to do the Gateway experience and find out yourself, boo. Like, you need to do the process.
You gotta pay them bands. All right. That's what we have today on the CIA and their experiments with the Gateway experience. Before we go, though, we do want to remind you to check out our website and book a human design reading or tarot card pull with Jen. I promise you will not be disappointed. She's super dope at both. So yeah, check that out.
And finally, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.